It's time for one of those videos that makes the rounds that every fragrance YouTuber does, it seems like. Keep 10 winter designer fragrances for life. Hey friends, Ash here with Gents Scents. So today I'm going to be going over with you guys the 10 designer fragrances that I would keep if I could only keep 10 for use during the winter season. Let's jump into this. Just a bit of a disclaimer before I start talking about the first fragrance. This list could really change depending on the day you catch me. One day I would tell you, yeah, this is my list. This is really solid. This is what I want. You could catch me 2 days from now and I could be like, well, actually, take out that one and put this one in. And I think you guys understand what I'm talking about. Day to day, what you want to wear can really fluctuate a lot. But as of now, this is my list. This is what came to mind first, so we're gonna roll with it here. First off, let's get the most obvious one out of the way, or at least one of the most obvious ones. Dior Homme Intense from Christian Dior. Absolutely love this fragrance. I think that I could do this list 100 different times and this one would always make the list. It's just amazing to me. This one has iris, ambrette, lavender, cedar, and vetiver as some of the notes in the fragrance. It is super classy, sophisticated, and refined. One of the best formal fragrances you're ever gonna find in the designer realm. The performance is killer. The presentation is sleek. This thing is great. I talk about this all the time though, so we're gonna keep it moving. Christian Dior Homme Intense easily makes this list. And this next one is another one that I do talk about fairly often. My favorite from the scent line, the Scent Private Accord from Hugo Boss. This one is the big boy bottle, 200 milliliters. Don't think I ever have to worry about running out with this one. This one has cacao, vanilla, manenka, coffee, and ginger as some of the notes in the fragrance. The manenka is what ties this whole line together. You're gonna find that across all the fragrances. It gives it this kind of dusty, exotic fruitiness. There's a touch of sweetness from it, but not really a whole lot. Manenka is not like apple or citrus where you get a whole lot of juicy sweetness. It's a little more mysterious, you might say. The sweetness in this one is mainly gonna come from the cacao and the vanilla, and you have a nice contrast with the coffee bean. It's a great fragrance. This next one, some of you are gonna think I'm presenting this as a troll, but I would legitimately keep this. Even if I wouldn't wear it that much myself, I would just wanna spray it and smell it on occasion. And that's enough for me to want to keep it in the top 10. It's Decant Noir from Guerlain Low. Now, I know what you're thinking. Decant Noir? What? No. Yes. Yes. Yeah, Decant Noir obviously was worn by so many people over the years and has kind of a reputation of being a played out 80s yuppie douchebag fragrance, but it's actually really good. Like a lot of fragrances from this time period, there are a ton of notes in the fragrance. You've got oak moss, you've got lavender, you have fir, just a whole lot going on. Decant Noir is one of the most instantly recognizable fragrances ever. When you smell this, you immediately know what it is. It's right up there with Acqua di Gio in that sense. Yes, Decant Noir is gonna smell dated nowadays, but realistically, not many people wear that. I cannot tell you the last time that I smelled somebody wearing Decant Noir in public. You may say to yourself, yeah, that's because it's a terrible fragrance. I beg to differ. This thing stands the test of time. It still is sold for a reason. This is still a killer fragrance, even though it may smell a bit dated. Up next, this one right here, Versace Oud Noir. This, one of my absolute favorite designer oud fragrances. I love the spiciness in here. This is a great entry into oud if you're not really familiar with the note. The spices here are gonna come from saffron, cardamom, and pepper. You've also got patchouli in here, along with the oud. This one gets compared to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. There are some similarities there, but I wouldn't say that this is really a direct copy of Oud Wood. Oud Noir is, though, a really great jumping off point into the world of oud, if you're not really familiar with it. I actually bought this one at full retail when it came out. It was hard to find in the US for a little while, and I don't regret it a bit. I absolutely love this fragrance. I adore it. I think it's fantastic in winter. I use it during the day or night. The spiciness really works well when it's cool outside. Up next, we're gonna go with the Guerlain. This is not the only Guerlain on the list. Some people, and this is a disclaimer or a caveat that I have to use every single time I talk about Guerlain, it feels like, some people will say Guerlain is a niche house, but these fragrances, I think, fit in better in general with designer videos because the pricing is not really high on these. And both of the fragrances do have designer sensibilities in the sense that they're trying to be very mass appealing. The first fragrance from Guerlain is L'Instant de Guerlain Extreme. If you buy this now, it is not going to come in this bottle. It's actually now called L'Instant de Guerlain Eau de Parfum. Used to be called L'Instant de Guerlain Extreme, which is this bottle design right here. And actually this is the original bottle design with the black border. They had this fragrance done in a later bottle style, which was the same bottle, but with a clear border. That was a whole lot of talk, basically just to say, if you buy this now, it's gonna look like this over here, and it's gonna be called L'Instant de Guerlain Eau de Parfum. This one has cacao, it has patchouli, it's got sandalwood, it has star anise, and this one is just an absolute stunner, killer beast in cool weather. This one is probably not going to appeal as much to the younger guys out there. Doesn't have that syrupy sweetness, that bubblegummy sweetness that a lot of younger guys look for in, you know, wintertime fragrances. This one keeps it grown up, keeps it mature. It's got this really great, dark, mysterious, sexy vibe to it. Just an absolute banger, fantastic fragrance from Guerlain. And just in case anybody's wondering, should you pony up the cash and buy a vintage bottle, or should you just get what's on the market now? For 99% of you out there, you don't need to go for the vintage bottle. If you're a collector, yeah, maybe at that point you should go for it. Or if you have a really strong association, like mental association with the vintage, maybe go for it then. For everybody else, just get what they have for sale on your favorite discounter. Up next is a fragrance from Francis Kurkdjian, but it's probably not what you're thinking. It's this one, Narciso Rodriguez For Him. This one, perfect for dreary days, you know, when it's overcast outside, maybe when it's not quite cold enough to snow, and you get that kind of just gloomy, rainy kind of weather going on. This one right here. I mean, really look at the bottle with all that gray going on. Pretty much tells you, hey, that's when you should wear this one. This has violet leaf, musk, patchouli, and amber as some of the notes in the fragrance. And a bunch of people will actually compare the scent of Narciso Rodriguez For Him to the scent of petrichor, or the smell after it rains. And other people will compare it to the smell of like wet cement. And that does give you a pretty decent idea of how it smells. I mean, obviously it's a romanticized fragrance version of that smell. It doesn't smell exactly like petrichor. It doesn't smell exactly like wet cement. I mean, violet leaf is really what you're gonna pull from this the most, but when you smell it, you can definitely get those images in your mind. All that said though, Narciso Rodriguez For Him, fantastic, great fragrance for cool weather. This next one, I love, 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 love. It's Odebo from L'Occitane. This one is just great. Now this is a 100 ml bottle size. They don't make this anymore. It actually comes in a 75 ml bottle nowadays, but it's not too expensive. I think it's $65 at full retail, and it's absolutely worth that. This one has cypress, vanilla, tonka, and incense as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this is just one of the best, slightly smoky vanilla fragrances you're ever gonna smell. The cypress is right here, right there in the front. So you do have to like that note. If you don't like cypress, you probably won't like Odebo. But as far as fragrances from this house, from this brand, check this one out. This is a killer. I have loved this fragrance for a long time. This is actually my second bottle of this fragrance, and it's pretty low. Next up is a fragrance that I absolutely love from Icy Miyake. It's a little bit hard to find sometimes. Once it comes into stock, it sells out very quickly. It's Pulse of the Night. Vanilla, leather, tonka, and incense, some of the notes in the fragrance. Has a slight powder to it, but doesn't bother me whatsoever. The incense here gives you a really nice, rich smokiness to the fragrance, and it has this dark kind of sweetness as well, which you would expect considering it's pulse of the night and comes in this bottle. This one is just an amazing quality for the price that you pay, assuming you get it from discounters. There have been a lot of scalpers that have bought this up from discounters and jacked the price up on eBay. Don't pay jacked up prices. Try to get this, you know, maybe in the $50 range. I would go up to 60, 65, 70 and still be happy. I think the quality is there, but don't pay more than that. Icy Miyake makes fantastic cool weather fragrances. I actually think they make much better cool weather fragrances than they do warm weather fragrances, even though they're most well known for low DC. And this one is no different. This is an absolute stunner. There are a few others in this line, the Nuit DC line, that I could have put in this top 10 and it would have worked out great. I mean, they would have fit in anywhere, but I decided to go with this one. Next one really needs no introduction, Spice Bomb Extreme from Viktor Rolf. This one has great performance. It's gonna last all day, last all night. It's a big compliment puller. This one takes the Spice Bomb DNA, adds some black vanilla, kind of reins in the spices a little bit. They're still obviously right there, still front and center, just not as aggressive. It is a little bit expensive as far as designer fragrances go at discounters, but Spice Bomb Extreme, great fragrance, gotta keep that. Now I wanna mention a couple fragrances really quickly, some discontinued ones that I would probably have in this list if they were not discontinued. First up, Luna Rosa Extreme from Prada. It's got pepper, lavender, vanilla, and amber. Don't know why they discontinued this. Don't know at all. Luna Rosa Extreme is one of, if not the best releases in the entire line, and they killed it. And I actually really dig this old style bottle, the old Luna Rosa bottles that had this kind of like almost metal grating on the top. I thought they looked pretty cool. This one, gone too soon, hard to find now. The prices get jacked up all the time. So I don't suggest that you go blind buy this unless you know how it smells and know that you like it. But Luna Rosa Extreme, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it, Prada? Why'd you do it? And then Dior, Fahrenheit Absolute. Yeah, another one, gone too soon, as they say. Incense, myrrh, violet, and oud, some of the notes in the fragrance. And I think this one they released on the 21st anniversary of Fahrenheit's release, the original Fahrenheit. Could be wrong on the year, but I know it was an anniversary and I think 21st. I've said before on this channel, I'm a fan of the Fahrenheit line, and you should be too. If you're not a fan of the Fahrenheit line, something wrong with you. Nah, I'm just playing. Fahrenheit Absolute though, just a fantastic fragrance. I've got about half of this bottle left. The price on these has skyrocketed, unfortunately. And while this does have oud, it's not super prominent, not really dirty, not animalic, not fecal. So don't let that scare you off. It has incense and myrrh more so than the oud. Makes Fahrenheit Absolute even better for winter, even better than the original EDT. And that one's not too shabby either in winter. I actually featured Fahrenheit Absolute as one of the first wintertime fragrances that I suggested, I think in my first winter top 10 designer list that I did on this channel. So it's one that I've liked for a long time and sadly is now pretty hard to get. That's gonna take us to the last one in this list, Guerlain Low Mille Eau de Parfum. There was a scare that this was discontinued, but turns out it's not. They just changed the bottle. So instead of this border, now it's clear. Yay. This one has almond, cherry, tonka, and vanilla along with leather as some of the notes in the fragrance, and the cherry is what really, really draws me in on this one. Just this really nice, sort of bittersweet opening with the cherry. The almond gives it this nice creaminess. You've got a bit of leather in the base that gives it a little more depth and a little more oomph. It's also a huge compliment puller and hugely versatile as well. So Low Mille Eau de Parfum, great choice in almost any situation. And that one wraps up this list. Guys, let me know in the comments below, what are some of your fragrances that you would keep? Designer fragrances, if you had to trash your collection and could only keep a small amount. And we're talking specifically for winter here. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, and I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.